Hello, my name is Raleigh Love. I am a second-year MBA and dual registered with the master's program in geography for international trade. And my friends and I here would like to discuss a little bit about the MBA China Trip offered by the MBA program.
My name is Peter Shawowski. I'm a second-year student at University of Buffalo, second-year MBA, concentration in finance.
My name is Carly Hartmans. I'm also a second-year MBA with a concentration in marketing.
My name is Jillian Vinci, and I'm a third-year PharmD JD student.
My name is Mark Shepard. I'm a second-year MBA student concentrating in finance and consulting. And we had a great time on the trip. We're excited to tell you more about it today.
So our trip it lasted 2 weeks, and we spent about 5 days in Shanghai, and then Shenzhen, and then Hong Kong. And every day that we were there, we had at least one, sometimes 2 or 3 business visits. And then the afternoons were spent doing cultural things or exploring the cities.
Before we went on the trip, we were prepped by a student that we have here at the University of Buffalo who's from China. And one of the things she told us that was interesting was that in China, being an MBA is a very big deal because education is very valued there, and so many people in China have so little that to achieve that level of education is really special. So she told us we'd be shocked at how well we were received and the level of importance put on our visit. And I would say even despite that warning, we were all really, really impressed and just blown away by how well received we were by all of the companies that we visited, the amount of time we got with really high-level executives.
How many times did we go to a company or to an industrial park or something like that, and suddenly there's this great big lit-up sign, "Welcome to the delegation from Buffalo."
I would say one of our favorite visits collectively was with the Kerry Group. The Kerry Group it's a conglomerate that controls quite a few companies. The companies that we were involved in visiting that day were their logistics services, where they're trying to come up and compete with things like UPS and FedEx. And that was an interesting thing because they are actually in charge of all of Louis Vuitton's operations in China. So for a French manufacturer who has a lot of concerns about counterfeiting, to see all the security and things that are put into the logistics services was a really interesting thing for all of us. Also, we were able to visit their
Mega Box.
Mega Box. It was called their Mega Box, and it's a new version of a mall which is actually vertical. So it was a really cool example of a way that they're trying to revitalize sort of an economically depressed area. So, and that was another example Mark had touched on a little bit, the reaction that we got from these executives in China, how welcoming and how open they were to us.
Kerry Properties really amazed me because they were very customer focused. They did everything they could for Louis Vuitton to keep, and we could only go in one area where we could not see any bags or anything like that. And with the Mega Box, they really sat down and they said, what do our customers want? They designed how they're going to have the parking in the floor, if one of their, I don't know, little segments of the mall, how they're going to get their shipments in without having to go up 17 floors and then come back down. They really spent a lot of time investing on what their clients and their customers are going to want in the future.
We did visit a lot of different types of companies while we were there. One of the interesting ones we visited in Shanghai was Sunfaith Consulting, which is a Chinese consulting company which helps international businesses deal with the special circumstances that you encounter in China. Specifically, one of the things they were talking about was counterfeit goods and intellectual property laws. So that was an interesting one that we saw.
Yeah, I was really interested in Sunfaith for doing the PharmD JD program, and everybody says you're going to have so many opportunities, but it's really hard to pick those out until you see them firsthand. And going to China, all we kept hearing was patent infringement, intellectual property over and over again. And here was Sunfaith, who had started as a company that was basically trying to get foreign investment into China and teach them how to expand their business. And now they actually market themselves as having all this patent knowledge.
We had lunch on the top floor of HSBC's world headquarters in Hong Kong, which is a really impressive building with a really impressive view. And having lunch with the CFO of a major company like that and another high-level executive was quite an experience, to say the least. Especially to be at the world headquarters of a company that has such a strong presence in Buffalo locally and all over the world.
Raleigh set up a really great meeting for us at the Foreign Correspondents Club, and we had the opportunity to meet with the foreign correspondent for Forbes and
magazine,
Wall Street Journal. And personally, I thought that was really great, meeting with some Americans that had decided to live in Asia to continue their careers, and that's kind of always been something that I had thought about, and I know I was talking to Carly about just how can you decide to make that transition, and that was something that was really nice. It was kind of informal, and we were able to talk to them about those experiences that they had and what pushed them to, choose their career in that direction.
I really started to feel like I could work there. I could see myself working in Hong Kong. It was very similar to going to a meeting somewhere in a company in Buffalo.
Well, I think a lot of people in our group, learned that they would like to work in China, or that they could work in China if they were given that opportunity. I think going on a trip like this also gives you the opportunity to find out whether or not you would not want to live or work in China. Well, it's a good thing to visit. You might not necessarily want to move there for a substantial portion of your life to live and work, but then again, you won't know unless you go on the trip and you find out.
Just going out there and pushing your boundaries yourself, and I think that's really important because you never know what's going to happen and where you're going to be placed later on in life. And so just knowing that if somebody tells you, hey, tomorrow you have to go to China, you know that you could do it and you wouldn't think twice. And I think that for the cost and for the experience with the teachers, having all the business meetings set up for you, having all the guides and all that set up, I mean, it's a great deal, and I think you'd be crazy not to take it, I guess.
I mean, the world's getting smaller internationally. HSBC, we visited HSBC. You can work for HSBC here. You never know when you might need a contact in HSBC in China to help you out with a project or something like that. So just developing those contacts, and like we said, the people are very welcoming there. So they look forward to hearing back from you. They would love to hear how you're doing, what kind of position you have. So if you ever need help, if you ever reach out to them, I'm sure they would be very anxious to help you.
I would say that one of the major takeaways from a trip like this is the fact that it's an opportunity to expand yourself culturally and mentally, and it's an opportunity to step outside what is normal for you and explore possibility. You're taken over there as part of a group. You're not alone. You can experience things as a group. So if you have one person in the group who's a little bit more adventurous than other people, then you can kind of bring the experience into the whole group, I think. And that kind of opportunity is really good.
One of the great aspects of this trip that I didn't see coming going into it was the group that we went with. We had 14 of us. We had a really great group, and by the end of the trip, we really become great friends, much more so than we've been going into it. So it was a great experience for us. The people that you go on the trip with, you'll become a lot closer with, and you'll keep those friendships after the trip's over. There's almost a 100% chance that you'll never again get the opportunity to travel to a place like China with a group of people that you know and have things to do that are interesting as opposed to challenging, and also just be able to have a lot of fun and go out and have a lot of free time to explore and to learn more about the culture and just have fun with your friends.
It's the fun stuff that we did after, we'd visit businesses in the morning, and then in the afternoon, we'd go like the Jade Buddha Temple in Shanghai, or the theme park that we went to in Shenzhen, that it started out nobody was really quite sure what to do, and then suddenly as we started exploring the park, people started having more and more fun.
Yeah, I think some of our most interesting experiences were when we just went off on our own. Some side streets, looked for a random restaurant to go into, and went and really had a great time.
Some of our favorite experiences were the underground street market. There's lots and lots of counterfeit goods, like really interesting things that you'll see on the streets to buy, and there's lots of bartering, so it's really a fun experience to go into these underground markets and experience that. Also, street meets street. Yep. There's a whole street in Shanghai where it's just vendors who are selling all sorts of different things. You won't even know what you're eating half the time, but that's kind of the fun of it.
I would definitely recommend dumplings in Shanghai.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on that street meet street.
Or anywhere, really.
Yeah.
Anywhere, really, yeah.
If you're watching this video, I suppose you have some interest in going to China, and you're probably a little concerned about the food, because I think we all were. We're all probably a little bit nervous, you know, excited, but a little bit nervous to eat nothing but, you know, Chinese food for 2 weeks. And I would say without exception, it really wasn't a major issue for anyone. You know, we got to try a lot of different types of food, a lot of different types of Chinese food, which I don't think we all realized, at least I didn't realize how many types there were. And no one really had any problems. At every meal you get, they'll have someone there that's going to help you order if you have trouble, except for if you wander town away from the guides. But if you're with your guide, they'll help you out. And there's enough, because it's served family style, there's so many different dishes. You'll have something on the table you'll find to your liking.
I would say an important thing with all aspects of this trip is really to be open to new experiences. You can't really be shy about trying new things or new experiences, because if you have only a certain type of food that you're willing to eat, you're really not going to get the full range of what China has to offer. If you're not willing to go out and explore, you're not really going to see all these different aspects of the cities. So that's a really important thing, is just to keep an open mind and be open to new experiences.
It's one thing to study case studies in a classroom and, you know, read about these things in the news and in journals and things like that, but then it's something else to hit the ground running and actually see what's going on in the businesses. You know, you can read about, you know, what HSBC was doing strategically or whatever, but then when you go there and you see what the people are doing and you see the environment that they're working in, that's a completely different ballgame, and you can't get that perspective if you don't go there.
Yeah, I think that international travel and international interaction with people is one of the best educations anyone can get. Helps you learn a lot about the world and a lot about yourself. What really sets this trip apart and sets China apart is that China is going through one of their most interesting periods in history right now. So you're not just looking at the past, which you do get a good view of and seeing what happened in China previously, but you're witnessing firsthand a very interesting transition from the old, very socialist way of life in China to an emerging capitalist economy. If you're watching the video and you're thinking about going to China, I can tell you firsthand, you'd be crazy not to go.
Yeah.
I couldn't give it a stronger endorsement.